Hello, and welcome to Improbable Things. I'm J. Grace Pennington, and this is my podcast where I share 6 improbable thoughts before breakfast, and those are 6 thoughts about reading, writing, or science fiction. This is a very busy week for me because we are moving to our first house, but I managed to get a little time early this morning to record a quick episode for y'all, so let's get started. So number 1, as I mentioned, we are moving, so I am not working on writing right now at this exact moment, but I did manage to still make some writing progress of a sort over the past week, which is setting up my desk in our new house, and that's really exciting for me because I actually have not had a desk for a few years now since we've lived in our current apartment. It's just, small 2-bedroom apartment. We don't have room. So I got rid of my desk when we moved here, and my husband has a small desk that when he's gone, I'll use his, or if he's here, I just use the table. And it's been fine. Like, I just use a laptop, and it's not a big deal to move it around or whatever. But I am really looking forward to having my own space, being to, set it up how I want, to have my computer kind of more accessible. So it's just able to kind of be out all the time. And so that's going to be my new writing space, and I'm really looking forward to that. I have a little shelf above it where I'm going to put my published books, and that should be some great motivation. So that is my writing progress currently. Number 2, also on the subject of moving, we have been sort of gradually moving boxes over to the new place of things that we don't necessarily need urgently. And so one of the early things that we moved is most of our books. And I specifically left a few over here to actually read, but at least 99% of our books are at the house, and we even took the shelves over there a few days ago, and it just feels like, I told my husband, like, this is such a sad place now. There's no books, no bookshelves. So looking forward to being reunited with my books, and I did load a bunch of them onto one of the shelves over there a few days ago, so that felt good to get some of those set up. And number 3, also on the subject of moving and books. So when I left my parents' house to move in with relatives, and since then, have lived in small places as we've been married, etc., I had to leave a bunch of my books behind. And when I say a bunch, I mean like 5 giant Rubbermaid containers of books are still at my parents' house. And we just haven't had a place to store them, but we do have a lot of storage at our new place, and so at some point, obviously it's not a huge priority, but maybe gradually, even over time, I'll be shuttling those books back here from my parents' place, and I, again, will just be happy to be reunited with all my old friends. I know some of what's there. A lot of it is like a lot of classics and things like that that I've already read, but I know there's a lot there still that I haven't even read and that I may not even remember, so I'm really excited to get my hands on those again, and obviously can't have most of them displayed in the house still at this point, but eventually hoping not at this house for sure, but maybe at a future house to have a room that's just a library. That's kind of my dream. So excited to be able to get those back. The number 4, I've actually started reading to my girls at lunch, not every day, but most days. And it's really something I've looked forward to for a long time. I used to read to my siblings at lunchtime, and it was great. We went through so many classics, so many fun books, and I've always been super excited to do that with my kids. So I'm still holding off on reading classics or anything like that to them, but I've just started reading them, little storybooks. Like, they got a Frozen storybook for Christmas that has maybe like a dozen little like Frozen inspired short stories, and they both love Frozen, of course. And so I've just been reading them stories from that. And we have a couple other books that are like that are kind of like these big collections of little, short stories for kids. So I thought I would start there. And as they grow up a little bit more, we can move into things like I've actually started collecting a lot of children's books and children's classics already. Like I have A Little Princess, I have the Narnia books, I have, I think maybe A Secret Garden, Heidi, Black Beauty. I don't remember exactly, but whenever I see, a children's classic, especially one that looks really pretty on the shelf, I just grab it to have for the future. So I've started quite a little collection for them, and I really can't wait to start. Once they can really understand and follow a bigger story, it's going to be so fun to do that together. So number 5 on currently reading, I just finished an audiobook called Nobody Will Tell You This But Me. Not life-changing or anything, but it was really sweet, really enjoyable. It was on my mom's Audible account, and she suggested, that it was just that sweet, enjoyable, funny. It's kind of like it's not really a biography or anything, but it's basically this lady's recollections and stories of her grandmother, and it's kind of told through her grandmother's eyes, in a sense. It is the stories that her grandmother had told her, and it was really I liked that it was unique in the way it was told. Like I said, it's not a biography or a memoir or anything like that. It's just this one particular lady's I guess it's ultimately her perspective on her grandmother, even though she's telling it as if it were told by her grandmother. She calls it a true as told to me story, and I liked that. I like that, it is true and it is nonfiction in a sense, but it recognizes, I think, that it is colored by the granddaughter's lens and by her viewpoint, and that's fine. That's what it's supposed to be. It's very honest about that, but very sweet. It's kind of multi-generational. It goes through, the great-grandmother who was a Russian immigrant, and this Jewish family down through the generations. And there's a lot of mother and daughter stuff, which of course I can really appreciate. And just sweet, just very enjoyable characters and personalities, and just feels very real. And so it was, I don't know how long the book, but the audiobook was just about maybe 4.5 hours, so it didn't take very long. It was really enjoyable to listen to. So again, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, everybody has to read this, but it just like my mom recommended, it's just kind of short, sweet, fun to listen to, just an enjoyable little read. Nothing too crazy one way or the other. So that was a nice one to get started on the new year, and also to kind of boost up my reading count early in the year by reading some of these shorter books. So number 6, I went to see the new Spider-Man movie yesterday, and don't worry, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I don't make it to the theater very often. In fact, when I was there, I was thinking back and realized I don't think I've been there since last February. It's just hard with little kids to prioritize that. If we were going to go out, we'd usually rather, go walk around somewhere or eat or something where we can actually talk and spend time together. But we do miss seeing movies together, because that's something we did a lot when we were early married and dating and everything. So I missed having my husband there, but he didn't actually care about seeing it. So I was just like, well, I guess if it's okay with you, I'll just go see it by myself then, because I was super interested in it, and I was really tired of trying to avoid spoilers. I hate spoilers, and I'd already seen a few that I was upset about having seen. So I was like, I just better go before, because I don't know when it's going to be on streaming. It seems like it might be a while. Usually that's how we see movies now, is just whenever they come on streaming. So anyway, I just kind of snuck out while he was working from home during rest time yesterday. Saw it. Absolutely loved it. I'm not going to discuss the story really, because again, no spoilers. But I was going to say, and I don't really even know how to quantify this or what the reasons behind it are, but I guess there are a couple things I look for when I see a new movie, and they become more and more rare as I've gotten older, I find. One is that while I'm watching it, I forget that I'm watching a movie, or particularly forget that I'm even in a theater when I'm at the theater seeing it. And the other is that it keeps me thinking about it afterwards, because a lot of movies now I see them and then I'm basically like, don't think about it again. Or, I might talk to my husband a little bit about it or have a thought about it here and there, but it's not like on my mind. I just kind of like done once I'm done watching it. And so this filled both of those. Like, I've kept thinking about it afterwards. I was like falling asleep thinking about it and like thinking through all the different aspects of it. And while I was watching it, I did totally forget like the world, forget that I was at the theater, forget, just was really immersed in the movie. And it's just interesting because when I was a kid, that was very common. I'd fully enjoy movies, like have them on my mind afterwards, thinking through the plot and the theme and, all that. And I just have found it, just like I said, gets less and less common the older I get. And I have some theories as to why that is. I think partly, I just have more of other things on my mind, obviously, different priorities, more responsibility, things like that. And so the threshold, I guess, for having that amount of mental energy to put into a movie is just, I just don't have as much of it, and that's totally fine. But also, I think, when you're a kid, you obviously haven't seen as many movies, don't know as many stories, and so more things are new to you. And so they're just more, you're going to be more enamored with more things because they're fresh. Like, things are not as familiar. And then the older you get, obviously the more you've seen, and so the more likely you are to have seen something very similar before. And so I think it takes something more and more special to, stand out in that way and to get you really immersed and to really make you think. And so I can't really tell you what it is that makes that happen, because the last few times when it has happened to me, it's always been